There is a lot to say about Death Stranding. It's just so weird and packed with odd ideas that jumbled together in a way that somehow worked. Despite some mixed reception, it was a very cathartic adventure game that truly made many players feel connected to others thanks to its unique social elements. That is why we look forward to Death Stranding 2. Some would argue that there was a lot of misplaced faith in Hideo Kojima's original vision, but after playing the first game and seeing the many improvements and twists from the sequel, it's becoming very difficult to doubt him. There is a lot to discuss and be excited about. So join us today as we talk about everything you need to know about Death Stranding 2 on the beach. Like its predecessor, Death Stranding 2 is a game about traveling across hostile cross-country landscapes, min-maxing your body with boxes, maintaining your center of gravity to protect said boxes, and getting Facebook likes from holograms in the process. Death Stranding 2 builds heavily upon the foundations of the first game. With the added depth and improvements we've seen so far, Death Stranding 2 is looking to be a far more engaging experience. Anyone who's played the first game will recognize the basics. Delivering cargo to another survivor involves proper item management and weight distribution. You also gotta plan your route. Sometimes enough flat terrain justifies bringing a vehicle, which also helps bring in more load. But if not, a pair of floating carriers does wonders for patient travelers looking to bring volumes of cargo. Taking care of the packages also matters, so it's important to anticipate timefall, rain that could deteriorate the boxes quickly. That also means considering bringing repair sprays and protective gear to maintain its condition, as well as ensuring your route won't be too dangerous in the first place. According to lead level designer Hiroaki Yoshihike, Kojima wanted more emphasis on combat situations, which also meant that they were looking into giving players different approaches to deal with the various scenarios they'll be faced with. Enemy AI is now designed to have a more dynamic response to different player actions, which is in contrast to mules and BTs in the first game being more inclined to just give chase. Stealth, direct confrontation, and avoiding encounters by taking a detour through rougher terrain are now the three main approaches to these scenarios. While all three playstyles were somewhat present in the first game, it's been designed to be even more viable. This freedom of approach is unsurprising, given how Kojima's Metal Gear Solid 5 was also known for its player freedom in an open world scenario. And what better way to make comparisons to MGS5 than to look at the stealth and infiltration mechanics. You'll see more of the tactical espionage action when making clever use of your tools to toy around with foes. The trusty early game bola guns are still here and are useful for anyone wanting to subdue anyone from a distance in a discreet fashion. A weapon reminiscent of the mule's electric pole can now also be used to stun enemies in stealth. Beyond using the audio deck to learn more about your surroundings, Sam can now throw the tiny puppet doll man to get an elevated view of the area and tag enemies similar to eagles in Assassin's Creed. Players can now reset to the last checkpoint if they get spotted, which is useful for players wanting to attempt another stealthy approach. As for BTs, the game features a new type called Watchers. Normal BTs in the first game detect players via sound, but these new guys can actually see you. The dynamic between sneaking past enemies that can either hear or see you adds a ton of depth to the stealth gameplay. You'll also have the new Blood Boomerang. It's a given that it uses up Sam's blood, but it can be used to swiftly take down BTs if you're accurate. BTs are less scary now since players have more options beyond holding your breath as you tiptoe around them. But with this game's relentless atmosphere, BTs are still intimidating nonetheless. According to Kojima, the game is still fundamentally about cargo delivery, but combat has become more flexible. He has also stated that he prefers Death Stranding 2 to be more on the action side than the classic tactical espionage action that made him famous. It's easy to see, given how Sam's wacky inventory also has much use for direct confrontation as it does for stealth. Like the mules from the first game, Sam now has to deal with bandits and other armed survivors. Gunplay has been improved and has a satisfying punch no matter what weapon you use. BTs are a lot more manageable to deal with when using weapons and grenades infused with Sam's blood. Compared to the first game, it makes combat a breeze if and when stealth goes sideways. Boss fights have been noted to be an improvement, still featuring fights against large, even massive entities. Trailer footage also shows that Sam can now dive to avoid enemy attacks. Better boss fights are a big relief, as many BT boss fights in the first game felt mechanically underwhelming. Some tools unlocked later in the first game are available much earlier in Death Stranding 2. Imagine the relief now that players will get the floating carrier much sooner than expected. It was a favorite of ours, not just because it allows you to carry more stuff outside of Sam's own back, but also because you can use it to ride down slopes like a sled. Active skeletons also make a return, and we're expecting new types to appear. Like we mentioned a while ago, another item returning from the first game, but not necessarily one from Sam's arsenal, are the electric poles. These were tough to handle whenever the mules would use them, but it's pretty cool now that the tables have turned. Vehicular customization has been improved, since trucks can now gather items in transit through a pickup arm upgrade. You'll even be able to pack some firepower on your truck. It's also worth noting that the game gives players access to a vehicle very early in the game in the form of the Tri-Cruiser, good for both speed and additional cargo. That's also reassuring to hear because of the lack of variety in the early parts of the first game, which gave a boring first impression. At least we know the bike, among other things, will be able to keep us engaged in the early hours. Oh, and vehicle combat on the highways? What is this, Final Fantasy VII? Death Stranding 2 now takes place in Mexico and Australia. In contrast to the USA's Icelandic landscape from Death Stranding 1, the sequel now features sandy deserts, barren outcrops, and gorgeously realized jungles thanks to the Decima engine, utilizing the PS5's power to allow for larger areas. Not only will Mexico and Australia be bigger than the USA, but they will also be harder and therefore more engaging to traverse. Part of that is due to natural disasters and weather conditions. Things like landslides caused by earthquakes, avalanches, and flooding due to intense rainfall now shake up how players will traverse the environment. Day and night cycles are now a thing. Just like with the weather, the time of day will affect your experiences, such as temperature interfering with the state of certain cargo. Sam can sleep in his private room to pass the time if needed. The social strand system that made the first game unique is still here. You'll be able to utilize the ropes and ladders other players have left behind, as well as upgrade their constructions. More often than not, you'll also find that the things you've left behind have been of meaningful help to someone else. Players can also construct monorails with the help of other players connected to the chiral network. It feels even more worth it now because it can carry your resources and vehicles for you, rather than simply being a convenient pathway to drive in. One of the themes of Death Stranding 2 contradicts what the first game stood for, even on a mechanical level. Should we have connected is an interesting question to ask, because the game's strand-based gameplay is so ingrained within the series' identity. Death Stranding 2 takes place 11 months after the first game. The UCA nationwide chiral network that players spent the whole game trying to create has now been taken over by the automated porter assistance system. Porters like Sam and Fragile no longer have to risk their lives to deliver as much as they used to, basically replacing them with AI. After Sam parts ways with the UCA government and goes off-grid with his now human BB, Lou, Fragile tracks him down and invites him to join her civilian outfit known as Drawbridge, tasked with establishing the chiral network in Mexico and Australia. This is made easier to accomplish with the DHV Magellan, a mobile headquarters. The presence of this ship also means that Sam gets to spend more time with the Drawbridge crew than he ever did with the Bridges members of the first game. This is made all the more delightful due to the interesting new characters. A hardened ship captain, Tarman, offers a lot of wisdom for the team and a tragic backstory that we won't spoil for you. Rainey is a pregnant woman who you can trust to bring a bit of levity to the crew. The concept of giving birth to life will be an unavoidable topic in the game, and one that is juxtaposed with tomorrow's origins. Played by Elle Fanning, her origins and powers are one of the game's mysteries, especially after stating that she comes from a place where babies are not born, but remains in the mother's womb. We'd be remiss if we forgot to talk about Dollman, who serves as a more constant companion to Sam than anyone else. Obviously because he's a doll strapped onto Sam. We're more than happy to have Dollman in our expeditions. The promising part about this aspect of the story is how the crew's different personalities complement each other well, leading to not just charming interactions, but also relevant insights on the game's world and themes. Death Stranding was infamously convoluted. Every time you learn something, it just brings tons of questions. What really happened to Lou? What are Higgs's goals this time? And how are we integrating the DHV Magellan into a giant humanoid BT? And who's Neil? And how much of his Solid Snake vibes are we gonna get? We'll all have to find out for ourselves. Death Stranding 2 on the Beach releases on PlayStation 5 this June 26th, and we're very happy to climb mountains with Sam once again. If this ends up realizing Kojima's vision that many failed to see back in 2019, we won't be surprised. Death Stranding has always had the potential to be one of Kojima's greatest works. In this world where AAA games are afraid to take big risks, we're more than happy to see Sony and Hideo Kojima be willing to take another shot. That's it for today. Any weird theories about what's gonna go down? Were you able to make sense of something interesting? Please let us know in the comments down below. As usual, if you want more gaming news, updates, and deep dives, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. This has been GameMate, and we'll see you in the next video delivery.